Welcome to the stream. We are live, and this is episode 2 now. Dynasty
Yeah,
and Beers.
Dynasty
So
and Beers.
I
Yeah,
gotta call
yeah,
it episode, but we're going live.
yeah,
But
yeah,
we'll organize them by numbers, and so
yeah.
we
I've got
just.
a
Oh yeah.
two-hearted IPA here. I've actually never had this before, so
Okay.
we'll see how it is.
Yeah, you have to let us know how that is.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Nothing fancy, yeah,
yeah,
but we'll see.
yeah, and we just finished recording our video for the week. Um, I guess I don't know. Should we mention anything about it? I don't think it's like too mysterious of like what we're doing, but we just did like basically a like tips for mostly the players that probably aren't that experienced, but obviously like these can apply to literally everyone.
Yeah,
Um,
it's basically just like 8 things that we wish we knew when we started playing Dynasty. So yeah, some of them I'm sure will be really helpful for beginners, but I also think there could be some things in there that maybe even veteran Dynasty players overlook sometimes, or maybe have
mm,
forgotten about. So definitely think it'll be an interesting video. And also what I think is cool about it is we kind of did it in a little bit of a different style this time. Kind of like more of like a rapid fire. So I mean the video is not going to be longer than like, basically like 10 minutes. So it's gonna be real like quick hitting, right to the point. So yeah, if you don't have a lot of time, this is the video for you.
yeah, and then if you hadn't checked our last one, check our last one because that was really fun,
Oh
and
yeah,
we got a nice thumbnail going,
oh
and we
yeah,
got new editing
yeah,
overlay. You can probably see. Hold on, let me make sure this overlay is actually working. First of all, it is okay. Um, yeah.
yeah, yeah. Let us know what you think of the thumbnail in the last video, because yeah, we
Yeah.
were we were pretty excited with the way that turned out. Yeah, we were just like messing around with some AI, and yeah, we originally had a different thumbnail on it. So in fact, like some of you may have like watched the video with like the initial thumbnail, and so you might not even like know what we're talking about right now. So if you watched it real early, like yeah, pull up the video and check out the updated thumbnail. Yeah, we were pretty excited with how that turned out.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So yeah, we're gonna be getting these weekly videos going, and
Yeah, we're
twice
on.
weekly streams.
We're sticking to the schedule. Like
Yeah, yeah,
I'm impressed here. This is like what the second week of our like official Wednesday evening, Sunday evening schedule for live streaming.
yeah,
So yeah, we're sticking to it, and yeah, glad to be here.
yeah. We're doing actually really good, and even basically anything that we can try to improve. By the way, actually, if you guys are watching this, even if it's like post in the YouTube comment, even better, because we'll be able to see it easy. Just tell us if there's like anything you think we can do better, because like literally everything that people have told us to do better, we went and did it. So we've done it so far. So love any feedback if you have any. We just don't care. It's how harsh it is. Just give it to us, and we can make better stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah, we're also like just like open to any ideas. Like if you have anything that you'd like us to do a video about, or that you'd like for us to discuss on live stream, or like whatever, like feel free to share. Like we're very open to trying new things, and giving the people what they want.
yeah, and yeah, I don't know enough about that. I guess yapping about the channel, we can get into some actual talk. Honestly, yeah, one thing I want to talk about is kind of these rookies in the season because this is kind of how rookie season goes. You have so much time on your hands. You kind of take a break, or at least for me, I take a break, look a little bit in the rookies, and then all of a sudden it hits. You're like, I gotta see, I gotta know everything about this class. Um, but even in that, like, I feel like I know a lot of the good prospects pretty well, and then look at like a chart, and I'm missing like half the prospects still. Like there's just so much to look into. And, I don't think it's even that important to actually look into every rookie, especially the later guys. It's kind of something you can do, right around the NFL draft when you're seeing them get drafted and where their landing spot is really important because a lot of guys fall out or a lot of things change post draft basically. So it is kind of like wasted efforts if you're going through every single person just for yourself. If you're not really making content on it or something. What do you?
Well, I don't
Anyways,
know. Like I disagree with that a little bit. I mean, I think it's good to have a pretty firm grasp on just what you think of the prospects in terms
sure.
of just their talent, their profiles, that kind of thing. So then when the NFL draft happens and you find out what the landing spots are,
Yeah.
you kind of have that baseline of like just how good of a prospect you think they are, that you probably won't be as tempted to get like too carried away with like the impact of the landing spot. So I think that could be the value of having that kind of established in advance before the NFL draft.
Yeah, absolutely. Once you're getting into these, day three guys, though, when you're getting deep, if you're taking a look at a guy and he's just like, Dwayne McBride, I was all over Dwayne McBride, but he didn't catch passes. And then it's like, okay, he goes to Vikings around, there's like so many guys that just like, the time's just like over before they even hit it. So, I mean, yeah, it's fun to look into them, but I try to keep it, maybe to the more like the top 3 rounds, and then
Yeah.
I'll still know the guy's name, stuff like that, or some things about him, but I try not to like spend too much time on them. Obviously, it's more important for the prospect. But
yeah, I think it's good to like focus on the top prospects. Yeah, I think
yeah,
kind of anticipating the guys that are going to be taking the first 3 rounds. Yeah, I think that's probably where you'd want to like spend like the majority of any dynasty scouting, so to speak. Because after the first 3 rounds, I think it's fair to say that the landing spot is going to have a much bigger impact on what you think of the day three,
exactly.
Deep sleepers of the class.
Yeah. So probably, honestly, probably one of the most polarizing athletes we'll ever see in an NFL draft. Like, it could be the number one, other than like, this is like going back to like Bo Jackson and Deion Sanders days of like athlete. Travis Hunter. I feel like we gotta talk about him. And for anyone in the chat, we got 4 people in here. Like, I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. And I think a good place to put where I'm at, Dan, is I'm just waiting. I want to I just need more information on Travis Hunter, because one thing that makes a lot of sense, and I'm totally on board, is that everyone wants to see him be a receiver in the Dynasty fantasy community because they want to draft him. It's just a one better player for the draft. So I really hope he is a receiver for that reason. It makes all our first better. But the thing is like, when I think about it logically, if you're gonna play both ways, you should primarily be a corner, because you need to spend more time there. It's just so much easier to hop into basically packages on offense, where you can't really do that at all on defense. Not in the NFL level. So, and actually in college, he spent most of his time with the corners and less time with receivers. So, as a receiver, I don't think he's even fully developed. I think he can probably, take off, and it'd be really exciting if he's a receiver. But if they call his name as a cornerback, I mean, things get scary. So I'll hand it to you, and then I'll come back with like what I think happens if he gets called as a cornerback. Because I have a very precise, like, I can just envision how it works. So what do you think about Travis Hunter and all this?
Yeah, this has been the toughest thing about this rookie class. He's just such a wild card. Yeah. And I think like the thing about it too is like, when are we going to know for sure? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, when is that going to happen? I think that's the thing that's kind of like bothering me most, is like, is it ever going to be clear? Is it always going to be this kind of like ambiguous thing that we just have to speculate on? Because it's just so weird to think about like the possibility of having to like consider him on the clock with your different like rookie picks if he's, available when you're picking, and just not knowing what to do, because it's like you pass on him and it could be like the biggest mistake you ever made. Or you draft him and it's the biggest mistake you ever made. You know what I mean? Depending on what happens. So yeah, I'm really not sure what to do with it. I guess I haven't spent like too much time like really thinking about it. Like, I'm just hoping we get more information at some point. And then once we do, then hopefully then we just know at that point. And then, I can study him more as a prospect and figure out just how good of a receiver he truly is, and where I would rank him within like the first round. Because if he declares as a receiver, he's definitely going to the first round, and probably pretty high. I mean, I'm sure some people would take him at like, the 101, 102, 103 area for sure. So I mean, it's just, I can never really remember like a situation like this where we don't even like know what position he's playing. And it's either something that's like amazing for fantasy or completely irrelevant. And I mean, the one thing though, is that like, if he gets drafted as a corner, but they say like, yeah, you know what, we might sprinkle him in a little bit and, whatever. It's like, I don't think I'm buying it at that point. Okay. I mean, it's just like so late in the draft, but like, I'm sure like, probably like worst case, like, I mean, I don't know, where's he gonna go if like if that's the scenario? He's still probably going to like the second round or something. So like, I probably wouldn't take it unless I'm just like not excited whatsoever about like the players that are left on the board. And okay, fine, just swing for the upside. But it's hard to imagine having any impact in fantasy if you're playing like what 20
defense
snaps on offense. He's not going to be relevant. If that's the case.
So, this gets into my opinion on like this is how I envision things going. Hopefully, it's not how it goes. It's just if he's going as early as pick 2 in the draft. Well, guess what? Corners are much more valuable in the draft than receivers are. You know, I mean, we rarely see receivers go at pick 2. I mean, my God,
Yeah, that's true.
Jamar Chase went at pick 4, and he was generational prospect, just for example, right? But we see corners go all the time in the top 3 picks or top 5 picks, right? So the value is that he can play cornerback. But even just disregarding kind of everything, if his name is called as a cornerback, tell me that like you can't envision this happening. This is what's gonna happen. It doesn't matter. Someone is gonna say, "Yeah, oh yeah, he's playing. He's gonna play receiver too." Like they might not even say whether how much it is, but like here's the thing too. He's gonna say that if he gets drafted there, what's he gonna do? Say, "No, I'm only gonna play corner." Like no, he's gonna say, "I'm gonna play receiver anyway." So regardless of what happens. He's either basically the outcome is he's either going to be playing receiver or people are going to be saying within the organization or the coach or the GM when they draft him. Why would the GM that draft him say, no, we just drafted him to play corner? Yeah, no, we're not going to use the generational athlete on both sides of the ball. Of course he's going to say that if they draft him as a cornerback on the ballot, right? So when people hear that, I think he's automatically going to be pushed up regardless of what happens. So like I think he's like a lock first round pick. No matter what happens in rookie drafts, like whether you're the one picking him or not, someone will pick him because we're going to have him or someone in the organization saying he will play receiver. That's just kind of how I just don't really see a world where they say he doesn't play corner. If they are saying, though, it's like, yeah, he'll play receiver. I don't know if I'm buying it is the big thing, right? Because that's really risky.
I mean, the word is that at least like the Browns view him as a receiver. So if he gets drafted by the Browns, like would he be announced like?
Well, then he should be announced as a receiver then.
What?
If they view him as a receiver, why wouldn't he get announced as a receiver though? So,
well, who decides what position the drafted player gets announced as?
The team. The team does it. So when Cameron Bynum was a corner in college, but they drafted him as a safety, for example. So the team selects what position.
I mean, is it possible though? Okay, so yeah, I guess if the Browns truly view him as a receiver, then yeah, we would hear with the pick whatever the Cleveland Browns select Travis Hunter wide receiver. So I guess like that would be really interesting. Then his value would skyrocket and he'd be going within like the first few picks of rookie drafts. But yeah, is it possible the team like are they allowed to say like? Receiver / cornerback or like, weapon or something stupid like that. Like, could they do that?
I don't think it's ever happened, but I could be wrong. I've been thinking the same thing. I'm not sure if that's
so. We're probably not going to know, at least like some clarity on this until he actually gets drafted and he gets announced and we know what team he's going to and what position he was announced as.
Exactly. And each team is like, there's different outcomes because some teams need corners. Like if he goes to Giants, like, I'm sure they could use him at corner, but if he goes to the Browns and they say he's a receiver, well, Patriots people think that he'll play receiver for the Patriots, right? Because they need offensive weapons. So there's so many variables. It's just kind of impossible to have a true take on him as far as like, and actually here's the big thing. The Vegas knows everything as far as sports betting, obviously. They don't even know where he's going. Like, they don't know if he's going to be offense or defense. They've just completely voided him from all bets for positional stuff in the first round. But let's take a look at the chat here. See what
I was just about to say. Yeah. So Cooper says, I hope Hunter goes wide receiver full time. I feel like if he is playing both sides, I'd be challenging him with posts and 9 routes all day and tire him out as much as I could as an OC. LOL.
Yeah. So that's definitely something they could do. You know,
I don't know. It's tricky because he clearly has the talent to play on both sides, but like, is that what's best for him? I mean, of course we're biased because like we play Dynasty, and so like,
yeah,
of course, like most Dynasty players, like we just want to see him play receiver. But like,
yeah.
even from just an NFL perspective, like, is that the best use of him as a talent to like actually play him on both sides? Like, I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, obviously the teams could determine, what helps them the most, but like, there's no chance he's playing like both sides of the ball like in NFL because we've seen players like was it Champ Bailey and stuff like that, like, and it's just not realistic. But of course, you can play. You know, like that's what I'm most concerned about for the realistic outcome is if they draft him as a cornerback. Sure, yeah, he'll play on offense too, but again, it's just so easy for them to pick and choose when he comes in, and not the other way around.
Yeah.
So.
And Joshy says Hunter is not a polished wide receiver. He is an elite prospect, and if he goes 100% wide receiver, I would be all in on him.
Yeah. Yeah, if he was drafted as a receiver, though, I think it's pretty important to say. I mean, like, really, okay, if he just didn't play corner at all and he was the receiver he is, or if he just said, like, I'm not playing corner at all, it's not even a possibility. Right. Like, he truly could be the one-on-one. In fact, he might even be, though it's obviously hard with Genty and how good he's been.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, though. Receiver is, there's a lot of good receivers, but he's, like, the one that would stand out then, whereas, like, running backs, there are a ton of good running backs as well, so, like, there really would be a good case for him at one-on-one.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure some people would take him at the one-on-one, just valuing wide receiver or running back. Of course, landing spot would be a big factor as well. I mean, if Genty goes to, a bad landing spot, and let's say Travis Hunter goes to a great landing spot, like, yeah, that could definitely put the edge on toward Hunter as being the 101.
Yeah. Let's see what else they're saying.
Yeah, Josh, he also says it will be tough to get enough offensive work if he is playing both sides of the ball. Yeah,
it would be extremely hard.
Yeah, and then Cooper, aka Hawkeye, says his deep ball tracking is elite. His body control is pretty borderline elite. I think he's closer to a worthy level rookie impact year than a Jefferson/Chase, in my opinion.
Okay. Yeah, if he's playing 100% of the snaps? You mean?
What's that?
I'm assuming he means like if he is a full-time receiver.
Oh yeah. I'm assuming that's what Cooper meant. Yeah, good to see Cooper in here. By the way, we enjoyed having him on the last stream. That was really fun, especially with the gift draft. That was my favorite part of the last stream. I think we gotta do. Yeah. We might do some more of those.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And then let's see. We also have. Cooper also says, but that might be good enough to be worth 102, depending on O'Marion's draft capital. I'm low on Cam Ward myself, so at least I won't be taking him 102. LOL.
Who takes a wide receiver? Yeah, exactly. Who takes a wide receiver at 102 in the draft? It is a great question. Like, what was the last receiver that went pick 2 in the draft? Like, I almost want to say it was like Sammy Watkins or something, but I don't even know if he went pick 2. He went extremely high though, basically. It's rare. Chase.
But I think he was saying 102. And I think his comment is 102 is referring to like in rookie drafts, right?
No, he literally says NFL draft. Who takes a wide receiver at the 102 in the NFL draft? Because the teams don't take a receiver.
I was looking at the. I was talking about the earlier comment, but I see that now.
And then Cooper is saying, he's looking at rookie drafts. Okay, they're going back and forth. So, what else we got here?
Dashi says Matt Harmon hasn't charted top 3 over the last 8 years. Same range. Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely saying something. Yeah, I mean, I watch like a pretty good amount of Dynasty content on YouTube, and a lot of different content creators that do Dynasty. Just really rave over Travis Hunter as a receiver and are saying like at worst he's like the 102 if he declares as a receiver and that kind of thing. So just that narrative alone, regardless whether they're right or not, I mean, it definitely would do huge things to his value.
Yeah, oh yeah, I mean, I do believe it if he actually is a full receiver, but like I just don't think that's like that likely is all. I mean, if it was though, that would be really exciting, and I hope he's taken as a receiver. As everyone does.
I mean, and like you said earlier, like especially since it would just make like every first round pick more valuable. It would make especially like the early second round picks more valuable.
Yeah. You could basically say
pretty much like every rookie pick is just slightly more valuable.
You could say your 201 is now the new 112 if he's
yeah,
picked as
basically.
receiver, basically, or if
Yeah.
they claim he's receiver.
Yeah.
Whatever.
So yeah, it just kind of extends that like tier before like the, everything kind of falls off a cliff, wherever that ends up being. I mean, like right now, I mean, we've kind of have talked about it as like, maybe like the first like 13 picks in rookie drafts, like you feel pretty good about.
I think it's 15 right now. I think it's
we're up to 15.
that would be
Okay.
my number if I had to put one.
Oh,
Just a
interesting.
cut off of. I think the first
Yeah.
15 will be a, and I think it can extend. I'll put that out.
So wait, who are your last three?
Like my last three, if I just had to like put names without any draft capital, would be like Dart, Golden, and I mean, kind of hard to just still say like one of the guys before. I guess those would be my like kind of last two right now. But then you got your combination of like the Lovelands, the Shadurs, the all those receivers, the whole bunch of receivers.
Okay,
well.
but I assume you're counting Caleb Johnson in there.
Yeah, and like I'm counting Travis Hunter in that top
Okay.
15 as well. By the way, otherwise I would say it's 14. But again, I assume Travis Hunter, regardless of any outcome, he's actually going to get picked in the top 15.
Yeah.
They're going to say he's going to play receiver.
Yeah. I mean, the last time I was like thinking about kind of that like top tier or whatever, at least like after Ash and Genty. I mean, you could have some like mini tiers or whatever, but
Yeah.
I was basically thinking that like it was like 13 players, and then Travis Hunter was going to make it 14,
Okay.
and then if you had Dart, that would
Yeah.
be 15, I guess. Okay.
So the same thing. It just seems like Dart's going first round. Everyone has him mocked first. I'm going to assume he's going to go first at this point, whether I agree or not. So that would be 15.
I guess it would be 15 then. Yeah, with Dart factored in there. So yeah, it's interesting.
And there's some surprises. That's why I say I think it could extend of like guys
Right.
that you feel
Oh,
good
yeah.
about, because then you get that random third round draft capital running back, that early
Yeah.
second receiver, whatever it is. So
Yeah, I mean, there were going to be players that I was like, "Ooh, I didn't think he was going to get taken in the second round, third round of the NFL draft," and so all of a sudden, their value skyrockets in Dynasty. So yeah, it could definitely change.
the Higgins and the Scattabos of the world are kind of the guys knocking on the door potentially.
Yeah. Let's see. Any other comments we want to read here?
So
Cooper says Browns taking him will feel a lot like Neighbors going to New York Giants. Neighbors just a better separator. Full stop, in my opinion. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I haven't like studied Travis Hunter like real deep. I mean, like again, it's kind of that thing of like I'm not going to spend too much time on it if like I don't even.
you don't even.
So like yeah, I've seen him play a bit. Like he looks good. But yeah, I think I'll kind of hold off. I'm not going to like waste too much time on evaluating him on like a microscopic level until like I really know that is time well spent and that he's going to be playing receiver.
Yeah, I'm the same way. Although I just like randomly ended up, obviously watching him. It's just like that we've known him for over a year now as well. Like he would have been probably a Heisman winner last year.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the thing too. What do you even need to look into? We all know he's amazing. So like, we know the numbers are going to be great and the analytics. Like I don't need to be sold on him as a receiver.
And then this is interesting. Cooper says, I think if the Browns take him, he's just a corner.
Okay.
Gosh, that's different from what I've heard. So yeah, I mean, where are you hearing that? I mean, like, what makes you say that, Cooper? Like, are you hearing that from anywhere? Because like I've heard that the Browns view him as a receiver. So I'd be interested to know kind of what you're basing that on.
I did see the quote from the GM, though I didn't hear him say it. I just saw a tweet quoting him. So I mean, I'm gonna assume it's real. I know you mentioned it that they view him as receiver, but again, we'll see what draft day says with the card.
Yeah,
it would be exciting though.
That's really going to be like the closest thing we get to like a final answer on that, or at least the closest thing we get to some level of clarity.
Yeah, I think that'll be really exciting for draft day. Is just right off the rip. It's not even seeing. Well, I guess to see where Travis Hunter goes, of course, but to see, then is he drafted as a corner or a receiver?
Oh yeah, I mean that'll probably be like one of, if not the biggest story of the draft, and certainly day one of the draft.
Yeah. So, what else we got here? People will be hyping him and comparing him to Neighbors is what I'm saying. I predict Paul. Cooper says. So, yeah, I mean, I don't disagree that he'd be that level of receiver. I mean, I don't think I'd have him better than Neighbors, but I'd definitely have him, or whatever, right there. Yeah, again, without even grinding his tape or anything, I think he's just a nuts athlete.
I mean, how much wide receiver did Travis Hunter actually like play in college?
Every snap.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, the fun thing about him is he played like a ton of slot last year, like I think predominantly slot. Then he
Okay.
played just about all outside this year. So you can
Okay.
play
Was
him
he also
everywhere.
playing like near 100% of defensive snaps as well, or?
Yeah, like, he's playing every snap. Like,
Wow.
like I know, of course, I don't think he played every snap because whatever, you get banged up or something like that. But like, he literally plays every single snap.
Well, why can you do that in college but not the NFL? Like, what's the big thing that changes?
Well, number one, you need to be like, for example, just think about practices. Like, you can't just be on the field if you don't know the plays. Like, again, he spent most of his time with the defense, and
Uh,
much less his time with the O by reports. The other thing is like, just no other NFL athlete's done it. Like, I'm sure there's been the NFL is just full of like the best specimens. If they could be done, it would have been done before. Basically, is what I'm gonna
yeah.
say.
Right.
And that's the thing. Like, they want to maximize his talent in one position. They'd probably rather have one elite player rather than like two like good players. If that makes sense. Like,
Mhm.
yeah. I mean, you could say, oh yeah, he did in college and he can do NFL. I just don't think it's realistic. And he's get like, yeah, teams can also potentially manipulate stuff and just kill him, try to like win them, stuff like that. Cooper was alluding to. Just doesn't seem realistic, is all. Though it would be fun.
Yeah, let's see. Cooper says, that's just what I think. I think he'll be a special package guy for them. I think they want Judy to be their one and have the Ward Hunter pair on defense. Okay.
I'm just hearing Tillman disrespect.
Right. Yeah.
That's
That's what it sounded like here.
Though he didn't say it, but clearly they
Right.
would put Hunter at corner because they have Tillman at wide receiver one.
Well, of course. I mean,
Judy at two.
you got the goat there, so
Yeah. What do they need another receiver for?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's see. Oh, then Josh, he says 100 snaps a game for 11 games or something crazy.
Yeah.
100 snaps a game.
Yeah, he's insane. What about other rookies here, though? We got. So I guess maybe we can work our way down the board a little bit here. Like, so we got Hampton. We were talking about him just briefly with Cooper, and
I
yeah,
still don't know how to reconcile that. It seems like everyone's like crazy high on Hampton, especially since the NFL Combine and he ran the fast 40 for size and everything like that. But like, he really does look slow when he runs like 90% of the time. Like, I feel like you occasionally see the speed, but like, even on like long breakaway runs, he just looks like painfully slow. Like, and so like I know you thought the same thing. Like, definitely interested to hear what Josh thinks of that. Also, like, I'm trying to remember what did I can't remember what Cooper stands.
I think Coop said that he just maybe wasn't like the highest on him. I think don't want to put words in his mouth. Maybe that he was questioning a potential one or two.
Yeah. Cooper, remind us what your stance is on Omer and Hampton, and yeah, you also think he looks like painfully slow at most of the time. Yeah, it's just weird to like picture him as an NFL running back that slow. I mean, like, I guess.
Well, the thing is, he isn't that slow though, because we saw his 40 time. Like he isn't that slow. I guess he just looks like it.
But here's the thing: does he play? Okay, that's the question. Does he just look slow, but he really is fast, or does he play slow, even though he can run faster in a straight line in an NFL Combine?
See, I wonder if there's actually like data on this because I know that like players like Puka and stuff like that like test bad. Because here's the thing too, like guys aren't sprinters and stuff too, and they don't know how to getting a good jump is something.
Yeah, maybe Hampton just got a really good jump when he ran that 40.
It's
like
possible.
Maybe he's good at that. So like,
it's possible.
Yeah, I could be wrong. Like maybe he just like he actually is fast when he plays, even though it looks slow for some reason. But like, there definitely is a difference between how fast you run in a 40 in a straight line versus like how fast you actually play when you're on the field. So what I'd be interested in is like some data in terms of like what miles per hour was he tracked at, like at his fastest on like his fastest run in college. Like what
Okay.
mile per hour was that?
Yeah.
Because we hear those stats from time to time in the NFL, like oh, Tyreek Hill was tracked at like 23 miles per hour on this run, or something like that.
Mhm.
So I'd be interested to know what it is for Hampton.
Yeah, we could look into that. Yeah, I mean, I guess the thing. I thought he looked slow, especially when I first looked. But then here's the thing. He was getting hyped up, and so was Caleb Johnson. And I was gonna say like, I'm just if those are the 102 and 103, which it was sounding like really early in the offseason, I saw that multiple times, basically from everyone actually, that those were the top two bet players, non-named Ted McMillan, behind Genty. And I was like, oh, like
Yeah,
I don't know about that.
yeah,
Now, what's funny is Caleb Johnson went all the way down to like basically projected late first in startups, which is pretty funny because
right.
they were people had Caleb Johnson over Hampton, blah blah blah. I know it was early, and I wasn't crazy about either of them. Now, here's the thing though. Then Caleb Johnson went to combine, didn't test amazing, didn't test bad. It looked bad compared to all these other running backs. But then I was skeptical of Hampton because I didn't think he would test well. But then he did test really well.
Right.
And that's a green flag. Teams reports for what it's worth, like insiders say that he seems to be a first round pick in people's minds. It's feeling Gibbs like of like yeah he'll probably be in the first. We'll see about all that. So like maybe it's the group thing getting to me, but like I could see him as a 102. I just don't know if I'm insane about it. I need a good landing spot and first round capital. But if that's the case, then I could certainly, be happy taking him in the 102.
Yeah, I
Travis
mean,
Hunter
like
is
if
there.
he went to the Chargers, if he got drafted by the Chargers, like yeah, I think maybe I could get on board. Um, but yeah, aside from a good landing spot, I just don't know if I'm really going to be in on him. I mean, you know, it could my opinion could still change. I'm still going to continue digging deeper into him. But personally, like you brought up Caleb Johnson, I know he ran the slow 40, but I thought he looked pretty fast, like watching him play. I mean, when you Blake, because I know, yeah, you alluded to the fact that you've watched both of them play a bit. Which player did you think looked faster when you were watching them? Caleb
I didn't think
Johnson.
Caleb Johnson looked fast at all. I thought he looked really slow. Like especially when I first looked
Really?
into him, I saw him get caught multiple times was a thing too. Like I actually thought he potentially looked slower than Hampton, which is
Wow.
like really why I was not like into him. Now I know that
That's
he.
crazy because like I thought he looked pretty fast. Like I'm not saying like the fastest guy ever,
I,
but
I
like
wonder.
I thought he played a lot faster than his 40 time suggests.
I wonder if this has something to do with it because a lot of like in for example highlights. Well, Hampton's highlights are going to be him initiating contact, running through people. Caleb Johnson is not doing that. Caleb Johnson's is running. All his highlights are just running through a hole with non-touch. Like seriously, that was like
Yeah.
most of his highlights, and then he gets caught at the end. So I wasn't really impressed by the highlights and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Though I'm not gonna knock him because he found the hole and stuff like that. I'm just saying like I didn't think he looked very fast. He looked just like
Okay.
an average NFL athlete to me.
Okay.
Um, I mean,
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's like weird. Like, I'll have to watch him again and kind of see what I think. But like, I didn't think he looked slow. I mean, at least say that. I'm not saying he was like the fastest guy in the world, but like, he didn't look slow to me. I don't remember him getting caught from behind too many times. But I'm gonna take another look at that.
yeah. That's it. I mean, the funny thing with running back is like, honestly, I think even just like breakaway speed and stuff is unless you're CJ2K or I guess Devon and Chain something like that. I think it's pretty overrated. Like, Zach Charbonnet's out there busting runs. Like he's not the fastest guy in the world. You see slow. We see fullbacks returning kicks. Like you can crib stuff with like 4.6 speed. Like you don't need to be a maniac. Speed wise, sure it's good to have, but I don't really. I'm not gonna knock someone because they are running 4.5 instead of 4.3 or something like that.
Yeah,
If
yeah.
that makes sense.
And Cooper says Omarion is a one-cut bowling ball type back. Don't love his breakaway speed and pads, but has some twitch and burst in the hole. I like his reading blockers, and it reminds me of Bijan a bit in that way. And then he also added, kind of reminds me of a Sean Alexander kind of player.
I
Interesting.
can see
I
it.
hadn't really thought of that comparison. Certainly not Bijan either, although I mean those are both both Bijan and Sean Alexander. I mean, those are both fantasy studs there, of course from different eras. But yeah, I don't know. I got to look into him more. Like my opinion hasn't like finalized on Hampton, but I'm a little skeptical.
When I looked back into him again, I was liking him more. when I understood
Okay.
more about him.
Yeah.
I'll say that. And again, like I think that's the thing. If he gets,
I like his size and toughness, and like I said in the last stream, he definitely looks like a grown man out there. So I mean, I definitely think he
yeah,
can um, knock some defenders down, and so I think he could be like a fun like power back in that way. But yeah, but just how slow he looked does concern me a bit at the NFL level.
well, here's what I'll say about this slow versus. I think we, yeah, if if he tests good, he has whatever good speed, and maybe hopefully his mileage stuff is good. I'm gonna assume it's good, uh, because why that wouldn't make any sense if he's running fast. Like
I don't know, like some guys just like
some
play
people like the
fast.
opposite of that. Some people play faster in pads. I don't know if people play slower in pads.
Yeah,
I'm not sure that's a real thing. But here's the thing though. I think a running back, is way more important than running a 4.3 or whatever, or just like beating a speed demon, is
yeah.
that you catch the football. And Amarian Hampton did a ton of it for how big he is. He was really good at, had an extremely big target share, all that stuff. Proved he could catch the ball, and that's what you want in fantasy is a guy that can play all three downs and just PPR scam, have some stuff drawn up for him if need be. I mean, we've seen some running backs that don't catch the ball in college, K9, start to do it, but oftentimes it really does translate. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's the biggest thing for Hampton is catch the ball and get a lot of touches.
Yeah, that's nice. I just feel like a running back that we're considering taking at the 102 in rookie draft, I feel like we shouldn't even have any questions about them looking like they're running in mud. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I just feel like if we're considering the 102, I feel like that shouldn't even be like an issue. You know what I mean? Like that shouldn't even like. I feel like that's something you're wondering about with like someone going in like rookie draft round 2, 3, 4. Like I don't know. It just like it just seems kind of gross that like the guy we're considering the 102 looks like that slow.
That's the thing. Does he look? Is he actually that slow or like I don't know? I think you need to get on the field.
I mean,
I mean, he tested 4.47. He's faster than like all these other guys. I don't think he's that slow.
I don't know. Like maybe he doesn't play fast.
I really do believe in the bigger players look slower. Like I don't think Derrick Henry looks fast, but he is sure as hell fast.
I just thought of that. Yeah,
Derrick Henry does not look fast at all. He looks like a freaking as slow as can be.
But once he gets ahead of steam, I feel like he does look pretty fast.
But then he's already a touchdown when he's ahead of Steve. You know what I mean? Like he's already by everyone and like.
Well, yeah, but like, is Hampton going to be doing that? Is he going to be like ripping off 80-yard touchdown runs? Like, I'm a little skeptical of that.
I don't know, but the one thing about Derrick Henry is if you catch him in the backfield, like he needs to get to the second level to catch. Steam.
Oh, I agree. Like the thing about Henry is he doesn't have good acceleration. He has to get that head of steam, and then there's no stopping him. Like no one wants to tackle him. He's like a bowling ball going downhill at that point. So, but I feel like he does look fast at that point. But there were very few times watching Hampton that he really looked fast. So I don't know.
Here's like what I think of when I watch Hampton though. It's just like a James Conner clone, but we get him at whatever is it, like 21 years old, and he's got more juice. And I mean, we love James Conner. Come on, he's like a James Conner comp.
Yeah, but does he have juice though? I mean, when I hear juice, I'm thinking like speed.
I mean, I'm thinking everything like twitch, blow up, like just run through the guys and just make plays. Like I don't know, I think he's got it.
So juice could just mean whatever you want it to.
Well, I mean, I would say if he had speed, if I was just referring to speed, like juice is like it's just something that almost you can't even like articulate exactly what it is. It's just like he's got it. Like Travis Hunter has juice, Shane has juice, something like that. Like he's got it as far as just like he can run through a motherfucker's face, something like that. Like, that's the guy you want.
All right, we got you.
That's the guy you want in Dynasty.
Yeah. Hey, by the way, I saw a trade went through in break room.
Yeah. Okay, so
do we want to pull that up on the screen share?
Let's get to that. Actually,
first.
Here's the thing. Is everyone in here? Okay. Wait.
Oh, we got Jacob here.
Okay. Yes, welcome, Jacob. Hold on, let me pull off.
Oh, Jacob says who drugged Seb.
Okay, yeah. So I've seen this.
So I'm assuming he's involved in the deal that just went down.
Oh, Seb, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so I've seen this deal. We'll break it down here. This is some breaking news.
Yeah.
Thank you for breaking that news, Jacob, because I would not have seen that.
Breaking news.
And also, let's quickly address what else we got going on here in the chat. Bijan, like, I mean, I kind of like, I see the Bijan thing too. I mean, I don't think Bijan looks that fast. Like, I don't know what you think about that, Dan. I really don't think Bijan looks like he runs. I don't know what he ran in the 40. Like, I think he looks more like Hampton than he does some other speed guy.
He looks faster than Hampton. I mean, Bijan isn't like a speed demon, but he can. I mean, he had a lot of breakaway runs in college.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think Bijan looks slow.
He actually. Oh, here's the thing. This is interesting. His combine, I think he ran 1 millisecond slower than, for what that's worth, than Hampton. Let's see.
He definitely looks faster than Hampton.
Time. Oh, no, that's wrong, Hampton.
But yeah, Jacob agrees with you, though. He says Hampton has juice for sure. So, yeah, whatever juice is, yeah. Guess he has it.
Oh, they actually ran the same 40 time. I didn't realize that. Wait, I just want to look up, though, real quick. We'll get to the trade in a second here. Hampton GPS speed. Let's see if we can pull this up while we're here.
Cooper, Bijan-like and just reading his blocks and cutting. Okay. And then he said Alexander would be a ceiling, referring to Sean Alexander. Seahawks grade. Floor is probably Brandon Jacobs light. There's a blast from the past. Brandon Jacobs. Yeah, Giants running back. Yeah, he was a pretty fun one for fantasy for a little bit there.
Okay.
And then Cooper adds with better hands, LOL. Perhaps a different floor comp would be appropriate. And then Josh, he says he gets a bunch of yards after contact. Great contact balance and strength. Yeah, I definitely saw that. It does look like he has good strength and contact balance. Like, yeah, how I alluded to just looking like a grown man out there. His ability to break tackles. Cooper says when he sees a hole, that burst is above average 100%.
Yeah.
All right. I don't know if I agree with that, but I'm gonna watch him a bit more.
We got a Hampton hater in that.
Yeah, I guess so. Like,
yeah.
You
are a big speed guy. I'll say that though. Like when the highlights, like if someone's fast, like you generally like them.
Yeah, I do like speed, but like I don't like speed if like the player like clearly can't play. I mean, I think it's like a nice bonus, but I just don't want them to be like slow and actually like look slow when they're playing. Like I think that's when it's an issue for me. So it's not that like they have to be Tyreek Hill, but if how slow you are stands out to me like a sore thumb when I'm watching you play, like that's kind of a red flag to me. But I don't know. We'll see.
Okay. So, anyways, let's talk about this trade now. So, 2 PPR tight end, start 11. The break
12
room.
Games, PPR, super flex.
So this is interesting.
Trade between Colossal Tighten Up and Seb Bolton. Interesting.
Yeah. So, first off, thing about Laporta, his price is like, I don't even know if he has a real price. It's one of those players that I think, like, some people just don't even want him. People might really value him. I don't know.
Yeah, I bet Laporta is a guy, I think we've talked about this before, that you probably don't get to see traded a lot because I don't think the owners of Laporta want to, like, move off what his value was after his rookie season, the great rookie season. So they're kind of slow to adjust, and they don't want to sell low on him. But then, like, people don't really want to buy him unless they're getting a discount because he was kind of disappointing in year 2. So, interesting to see him moved here. So it looks like Colossal Tighten Up got Sam Laporta on this 2 PPR for tight ends, as well as Marvin Mims. There's also a nice little piece there. And he had to send away Deebo Samuel and what are those picks?
So that's the 26 first from Colossal, and that's the 206 from Titan.
Okay.
So
yeah, 206 this year and a first next year.
Yeah. So Mims, I guess, like, he's the least important. We'll talk about him first because Mims, you've been kind of selling me on a Mims potential. Like, he's sneaky. He's a sneaky year 3 player. Though the one thing with him is, like, he could be absolutely nothing by the time the NFL draft / season rolls around. Mm-hmm. He's extremely efficient. If he doesn't get the snaps, though, he's essentially just a roster clogger. So can't really even if I like him or don't like him, can't really put much value on him. He's kind of in between a 2.12 and a 3.1 right now for value, right?
Well, how about this? Like, it sounds like you would easily take Deebo over Mims then?
Yeah, so, okay, just in general, like, if I had to pick one, I'm not, like, hot on Deebo, but I'd easily take Deebo over Mims, because It's just I think he's going to score more points next year, and that's all that matters between these two.
I mean,
It's literally all that matters.
Debo has more market value.
Yeah. He's got
So
better name brand. We've seen him score.
yeah,
He's
he's a
going to
name
score
brand. Like,
more.
he's a good player when he's healthy.
Yeah.
If he's not off the age cliff yet. I mean, I have traded for a couple Debos, but like, I'm a little nervous about him. But like,
oh sure, yeah.
I think I'm on teams where it was like I just kind of had the extra pick, so I was like, okay, yeah, I'll just like throw a second at Debo just for fun, see if there's anything left there. But if I was like stuck with one of these players, I think I'd rather just bet on Mims, even though I know he's worth less in Dynasty. But like, I think that could age well. I do think he's a nice breakout candidate. In fact, I was very close to trading for him in this league. Seb was gonna take my 302 for him. I think it was the 302. It was like early third I had, but then I ended up trading that pick and like a early fourth. Oh yeah, I traded the 302 and 402 to get Seb's 209. Yeah, I wanted to leapfrog over you and Joshy there in the in the rookie draft because basically I jumped over like 2 year picks. That wasn't the only reason I did it, but yeah, that's kind of the joke between you and Joshy. But in any case, but yeah, I was close to sending just like the 302 for Mims. I almost kind of wish I did it now. Now, like, it's probably I probably don't have access to Mims anymore because, like, if Colossal Titan I've just traded for him, he's probably high on him, and so he's probably not looking to flip him. It would have been fun to get that Bo Nick stack. So yeah, I feel a little regret right now, but yeah, I do kind of like Mims.
Yeah, he's interesting. Jacob said that he think he'd prefer Mims to Debo, and I can understand him, like, because I'm coming around. But my thing is just with both these players, like, if Mims does nothing this year or just isn't basically flash in a big way, he's worth nothing. Debo, yeah, he's got the pedigree. I agree. I'm pretty nervous about him, but honestly, he's in a new team situation now. If he just has like a good week one, like all of a sudden people might actually really want him. Whether I'm not counting on that, I'm just saying like if he gets to a hot start and he's scoring points, people are gonna want him. His name is Debo Samuel after all, so decent player to get back in the trade. But then here's like the real meat of it. It's kind of like it's then if we think Mims and Samuel are close. It's Laporta for 26 first, 206. Which honestly, like, Jacob said, what did he say? He said, who gave Seb drugs? Like, I think this is more fair than not. Because no one is paying 2 firsts for Sam Laporta, even a 2 PPR. It's just not happening. It's just not. You would want one this year, I guess.
Yeah, it's tough to evaluate the value of Sam Laporta in a league like this where it is 2 PPR for tight ends. Laporta does have the youth. We have seen an awesome rookie season from him and a somewhat disappointing second year, but we've seen the upside. I'm not even sure if we've seen the best from Laporta yet, though I do have more concerns in the short term because I really think the emergence of Jamison Williams is one of the biggest things that hurt Laporta. And then combined with the fact that the Lions are so good at running the football, 2 awesome running backs. I mean, even like the Lions defense was better for a while before it suffered like a million injuries. But like, that probably is like one thing that hurt Laporta early in the season because I don't think it was a coincidence that Laporta finished the season stronger once the defense was decimated. So I think those are some of the reasons why Laporta had a bit of a sophomore slump. I don't think it was really anything to do with his talent or anything. But, that only matters but so much. Like, talented or not, if you're not scoring, fantasy points or enough or what we expect, and that doesn't project to change any time in, like, the immediate future, that is going to be a ding on his dynasty value for sure.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, kind of where I'm at Laporta, like, I got him that one league where you traded him to me last season.
Yeah.
And I have Goff. I might as well just rock with him, Yeah. I don't think anyone's going to give me, like, a price that is just, like, even worth really getting off him. I'll just put him, like, keep my starting lineup, see what happens.
Yeah.
Not worry about it. But in other leagues, don't think I'm too interested in buying Sam Laporta. Probably just go for the cheaper options.
Yeah, I mean, I think Blake, I think you and I are really on the same page with this these days in terms of, like, just go cheap at tight end. Like, even in a league like this with the 2 PPR, I mean, you'd think, like, okay, that's the league you want to go, like, really invest at tight end. But, like, basically, I just did it with volume. Like, I didn't in our startup draft for this league that we just did weeks ago, I didn't take a tight end until round 9, where I got Jonnu Smith. And then I just started like hammering tight ends, and I ended up with like probably like like a dozen of them. So I think there's value in like the volume, and hopefully like one of those guys I got is better than we think. I got a combination of like some young tight ends with some upside, like Schoonmaker, even
Yeah.
like Kate Stover, guys like that. But then I got a bunch of these like old guys that like no one cares about, but like could be very productive, like Tyler Higbee. Trying to think of some other ones I
Yeah.
got. But yeah, I also got like Chig, like he's another young one. And there's just so much value. So I know like not every league is going to be like this, where you can get like that good of value on tight ends in a startup when
Yeah.
it's like PPR. But like I don't know, I just think they're tight ends deeper than ever, and you can just like
Yeah.
bunch of them and just kind of see like who rises to the top, because I feel like when you invest in one early, like they have to be so elite to really justify that, even into
They
PPR.
they'd need to be as good as that they got drafted because tight ends shift around so much. If you draft Laporta at 3, he needs to basically be the tight end 3 next year. If he's not the tight end at 3 next year, he's gonna
Yeah,
go down. I mean, it might be just number 4, but that gap could be like 2 rounds in startup ADP.
yeah.
Um, there's no really tight end that gets picked after Laporta for a long time.
Yeah, and that's why,
Um,
like, even though I was like doing some early trades in the startup to like position myself to take Trey McBride, once I actually got on the clock and he fell to me like I wanted, I was just like like something about this just doesn't feel good. Like,
yeah,
I mean, listen to McBride, he's had like 2 elite seasons in a row, so that makes you feel a little better rather than chasing like the one good rookie season from like Pitts at going into year 2
Pitts,
or
Laporta,
Laporta.
Bowers, yeah,
So yeah, I
all
do
those,
like that
yeah.
McBride has done it 2 years in a row. That makes me feel a little safer with him, and I definitely don't think McBride was like a bad pick in like the whatever it was, like
Mm.
early mid second basically of the startup. But yeah, just on the clock when I was faced with it, like it just didn't feel like the right move to me.
Yeah, and as I said in other things, here's the best way I can put it. Like I used to be, I wanted an elite tight end in every team, and I really did.
Yeah,
I've dramatically changed, and it's because the tight end now there is a lot more depth at tight end,
mm,
and even we're getting good tight ends coming out of the class, stuff like that for the past few years. Well, my stance has changed because now you can get to like a lot of really good tight end options with like really minimal investment without a first,
yeah,
which normally you wouldn't need to spend normally. In fact, sometimes like again, if you buy a guy on the way up or whatever, like a Janu, I mean like Taysom Hill was a top tight end last year. You know what I mean? Like there's just like the funny thing is like the tight end position. You could never get a bigger edge than at tight end if you just spend as little as possible on it. I'm not saying I want to spend nothing on it. Like we own 3 tight ends, Josh and I here, but and they're all picked like rounds like 8, 9, and
yeah,
11 or something.
yeah,
But I think that's my new strategy is just like refrain from drafting the best tight ends because
yeah,
all they can do is lose value or just maintain. And it's not all about value. It's just that if you hit on a Johnny or whatever, like you basically like your war value of your team is like just so nuts because you didn't have to waste a first or second round pick on them. And instead you spent like a 20th round pick. And guess what? Every single year there's like, 2 sleepers. I think is there was actually really good data on this. Basically like there's like 2 to 3 tight ends that are just come out of absolutely nowhere and break
right,
out and just like break tight end fantasy. It's just
yeah, yeah.
they score
I think
solid.
I think the position is really like quarterback, where like
Yeah.
year to year it can
Things change
change
a lot.
so much. Like yeah, okay, like Josh Allen and Lamar and like Hurts and probably Burrow are gonna be at the top, but after that it's just like this big tier where like so much can change, and a guy can like be like 12 spots higher in the finish 12 spots higher in the ranking than he did the year before, just like out of nowhere
Yeah.
for like whatever reason. So like there's a lot of like variance and change like year to year with that. So I think both with like quarterback and tight end, um, even more so with tight end, like because at quarterback it's like okay, sure, I'll take Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, like they've just proven it year over year over year. But like at tight end, like I'm just gonna bet on like give me a bunch of the late
Yeah.
guys, and like I'll just bet on that change year over year. And like if I have a bunch of like pretty good ones, interesting ones, 1 or 2 of them will like rise up,
Mm-hmm.
or even just like one of them is like all I really need.
Think about
Um,
timing. If you had like Otten and you don't need them to be good for the whole year. Imagine you had
right.
Otten and then you had Johnu and you just kind of like turned from
Yeah.
one over to the other. Like it's just
Right. Yeah.
if you have a couple, like you just kind of need one to be good at a certain point in time. Zach Ertz was good all year,
Yeah.
especially in the end of the season. But yeah,
Yeah, so really, I think it's the best position to go cheap at, like almost regardless of format.
yeah, exactly. Which is funny because like I love tight ends in this format, but yeah, again, it's like I love getting a lot of tight ends. I don't know if I like
Oh yeah,
investing a ton in them.
you could even like pull up each of our rosters. I mean, we're just like absolutely like loaded in terms of
Yeah,
like the volume of tight ends that we have,
yeah,
and yeah, none of them are like the sexiest names in the world, but like they're guys that are gonna at least have a chance to be productive, especially in this format where they're getting 2 points per catch. Um, yeah, we actually go to the trade
So
tab. That'd be a better way to see it because then you see all the tight ends like lined up in a row.
so let's see. I want to see what
You gotta go.
tight ends
Yeah,
Titan hat, or what's his name? Yeah, Titan. Also let us know in the chat here. What do you guys think of the deal? Like, is it close? Is it
yeah. Let
far?
me pull up some comments.
I'm willing to say like. Oh wait, sorry. I I mean I think Seb should have got like maybe a little more, like just like a third thrown in, like at least something like that, just like something thrown in so that he's
Right,
getting more assets, giving up the best player in the deal, all that stuff.
right.
But I mean, I don't necessarily hate it at all. It's a first, mid second. I just wish the first maybe was this year.
Do you want to
Um,
look at what tight ends Colossal Tighten Up has?
yeah, he had Michael Mayer and just Pitts, so like he
Okay, so
should have
you
maybe
want.
got Mayer thrown in. Like that would have been really sneaky
Oh
if he got
yeah,
Mayer
that
thrown
would have
in.
been nice.
That would
Yeah,
have been extremely sneaky if he did. Like
yeah,
I,
that would have been a sneaky counter if he like,
yeah.
yeah, same offer, but yeah, throw Michael
Yeah.
Mayer in that would have been
Yeah,
fun.
I definitely would have countered that if I was him, or third, something like that. Because like, who knows? Like in the future, yeah, it seems not likely right now. Michael Mayer could be better than. I mean, they were drafted right beside each other in the NFL draft, of course. And the funny thing is, with like, I do assume that Laporta is a good tight end, like a really good NFL tight end. But I also assume that with Pitts, Kincaid, stuff like that. I mean, he could be closer to those guys than he is Bowers and McBride right now, because he's kind of just sitting in the middle.
Yeah. Also, we have a Sunny MCD12 in the chat.
That's Seb.
Yeah, I'm assuming
Yeah.
that's Seb because he says, "Damn, I'm sorry I disappointed Dan." And he's got, like a sad emoji there. Hey, I'm sure he said that half kidding, but yeah, it's all good though. But yeah, I did kind of have my eye on Marvin Mims. But hey, I passed on the offer, so I can only blame myself there. But who knows? Maybe I'll be able to wrestle him away from Colossal Tighten Up at some point. Like maybe if Mims starts the season slow. Yeah, hopefully Colossal's not listening to the stream right now. But yeah, maybe I'll still have a chance. So we'll see. It's all good.
Yeah, and then oh my god, yeah, you have a lot of tight ends.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
Oh, then
can't
real
fit them
quick,
all.
I wanted to just read a funny comment from Cooper here. He says, and I don't know if, and I think he might be alluding to like the Amari and Hampton discussion. I'm assuming, but he says, I feel like if I have a different take than Dan, I'm doing something wrong, and immediately reevaluate. Haha. Usually agree a lot so far with Dan's takes the most. Haha. Very nice. Yeah. Hey, well, I appreciate that, Cooper. So, but yeah, definitely, I'm definitely wrong from time to time, as we all are. But yeah, I don't know. There's just something about Hampton that just kind of makes me nervous. But yeah, Blake, were you pulling up the tight ends? I missed that as I was reading the comment.
Yeah, you just had Mayer. You basically had a load of tight ends, and
Yeah.
I had five, and I was gonna see what Seb's team looked like now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, this team is interesting, right? Because he doesn't have his first, but now he has a first. Which, by the way, I don't mind that. Now, I know Jacob's saying, he should get his own first back. I definitely want my own first, like, undoubtedly. But, I mean, you probably want to bet against Seb. If he has a
Just
good
because it's like
season.
new to Dynasty.
Yeah, he probably wants because he knows Dynasty. But here's the thing: if he can't get his own first back, I'm still not against him getting another person's first because he can still spend it, whatever. But there's a range of outcomes where his team, he gets that great outcome next season. He's a playoff team. Titan doesn't, he took a little bit of death from Titan and buying power from Titan. All of a sudden, maybe especially Laporta disappoints now. Debo goes off. I know it's, again, there's just a scenario where like he gets a top 6 first, and whatever, kind of dodges a bullet on the player. Again, I don't think Debo's gonna smash, but we've seen him do it. So he's got a nice like veteran team. Like I think Gino's a solid QB2. This is my new take, by the way. This is my new take, especially after the way that this draft went. Let me pause here. I'm almost might be over like having pretty quarterbacks. It doesn't mean I want to have Geno Smith as my quarterback too. I don't want to have Derek Carr as my quarterback too. That's not what my plan is. But especially if you're in a team that just needs to get value other places, or if you can cash out. If you just look at the war charts, Derek Carr is just as good as like he doesn't make a difference compared to like most quarterbacks. You need to be at least a top 10 quarterback to make a difference each year. And you know how many valuable quarterbacks are in Dynasty right now worth the first? Like 24 of them. And then that might even be pre-draft. Well, a lot of those guys are going to disappoint. One thing I know is like Geno Smith isn't going to disappoint. Derek Carr aren't. And if they do, because it's anyone can disappoint, technically, you have minimal investment in them. And you might keep getting more and more years out of them. I think Geno is a little sneaky because he's not on the end of his career, and same with Carr. Like the 33 and 34, they can keep playing, get extensions.
How much longer is an NFL team gonna have Derek Carr as the?
Sure, I mean he's not the greatest example. I'm just saying he's actually the cheapest one, which makes him like that's not 36 plus. So that's what makes him attractive. And if you look at his stat log, he's literally QB 18 every single year. Every single year. He's a mid QB2, which is hilarious. Geno Smith has been doing that at the best impression. So the thing is, like, we think that quarterbacks are very safe for value and stuff like that. But unless they provide some kind of, like, really attractive part about them, like rushing, or really good team situation, then I don't know. I'm not saying I own all really good quarterbacks. So it's like, I'm just saying I'm considering, like, you know, getting the Geno Smith routes and maybe new teams or something like that. I don't know. What do you think about that?
Well, let's clarify something. You said maybe you're exaggerating a little bit to make your point, but like you said, like there's not that much difference between Derek Carr and like most of the quarterbacks. So like, where's that cutoff exactly? Like, I mean, if you looked at like the war charts for like most NFL seasons,
QB
like,
10.
Where would that line really flat?
QB 10.
Okay.
Scott did a video on it recently, which is again a good eye opener. I was tracking quarterback like scores from the past 4 years also, and I noticed the same thing about QB 10. It's like 1 point per game, maybe 1.5, 2, which is again, I mean, sure it adds up, but like the thing is, if you've had like, I think Trevor Lawrence is a good quarterback this year. I think McCarthy and stuff like that are good quarterbacks this year, good values. What are some other names like?
Scott, Jared Goff, Baker Mayfield.
Well, who are guys that we haven't seen score, right?
Oh, Bryce Young too.
For a full season. Let's just say for a full season, not for a third of a season or half a season. Let's say Bryce Young, Penix, McCarthy, Trevor Lawrence-ish. We've seen
He's
him.
had very hot stretches, maybe not like a great season start to finish.
Guys like that, but then we're taking some of these guys ahead of Baker Mayfield, who's now shown that he can be hot. Again, like, I mean, it could change, but he's now shown us 2 years in a row. In Jared Goff for 3 years in a row. Stuff like that, like, either you're a difference maker or you aren't, and if not, you're ADV. Like,
well, see, but here's the problem, though. There was a time where Joe Burrow was just like, oh, yeah, he showed some flashes as a rookie. You know, there was a time where Jalen Hurts was just kind of like a shot in the dark.
No, well, Jalen Hurts has been from the moment he started, has been a fantasy difference maker. Like, not even close.
There was a time like when the player was just starting out in the NFL and they weren't immediately that. So it's like, how do you get the next one? Like, yeah, you could pay 3 to 4 first to get like one of these stud quarterbacks like Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson, or you can try to find the next one.
No, exactly. That's the appeal. But the thing is, if you don't find it, okay. Here, I guess here's some good math though. If all these quarterbacks are worth, like, let's say, what was like the lowest you would ever take for Penix right now? Because he's or let's use him instead of Bryce Young, because I feel like more people are set on Penix's price. What would be the lowest pick this year you take out Penix?
If I'm only getting like one pick and nothing else on
this
top?
year, yeah, or any year, just average it out to.
I mean, if I was good at quarterback and like Bryce Young was like my.
Let's just pretend you need a quarterback. Oh wait, sorry, yeah, you are trading away. Yeah, sorry. Let's pretend you're good at quarterback. Yeah.
So yeah, let's pretend I have 2 other good quarterbacks. I don't really need Bryce Young, and let's say I just want to turn him into like some help at my flex spots.
Yeah.
So yeah, if I was turning him into a rookie pick, I mean, the first pick that comes to mind is like I feel like I'd need at least like the 108, and. Yeah, I'm probably higher on him than the market. So, like, I don't know if anyone would pay the 108 for Bryce Young. I'm sure the market would have him closer to like the 112 or something, but like I'd probably need the 108 to move off Bryce Young. And even then, I'm not really excited about that because like I really want some leverage on top of that to really, intrigue me. So like I'm not even 100% sure I would do it for that. I mean, yeah, certainly if you gave me like a top 5 pick, just on like dynasty value, like yeah, I would certainly trade away Bryce Young, but like I wouldn't be like that thrilled to get the 108 for him.
Yeah, and actually in this startup, he went one pick before the 106.
Okay.
So I
Interesting.
mean, he really is probably in that 105 value. I guess my example is like
I didn't think he was that high. I mean, like, I think
that's
that
or
might be a
what
little deceiving because like we always talk about how in startups
start
it's more
yeah.
fun to take the player than the pick.
But Penix and McCarthy technically are basically the same profile minus team situation and I guess age. And you were willing to do a deal of like the 103 for McCarthy and Benson, but again that equals about 105 range. And McCarthy and Penix aren't that different.
I mean, at least at the time, well, I'm pretty high on JJ McCarthy and specifically JJ McCarthy on the Vikings. Um, so I don't know. I mean, there were some other factors that that led me to like make that trade. I mean, at the time too. Well, I'm still semi high on Trey Benson, but I thought he was a nice running back to get in there. I don't know. Maybe I should have gotten more for the 103 with that deal you're alluding to. But yeah, to me like McCarthy and the Vikings seems like a slam dunk, and I feel like he has. I mean, maybe I'm wrong about this. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like McCarthy has more dynasty value than Bryce Young. Does he not?
He does, yeah, and I agree. But here's the thing too. I'm just saying like I think McCarthy will be good for dynasty because he's attached to the Vikings and Darnold did it and everyone. But we haven't even seen him play a real NFL game yet. Is also the issue. So how can he be worth like the one with you know what I mean? Like I'm just saying like there's a cutoff where like players like that this year. There's so many good quarterbacks. We have not seen this before. There's going to be so many disappointments at the quarterback position going into next year outside of injuries. So many of them are just going to be mid quarterbacks, and we're going to go, why didn't I trade for like that guy or just like whatever? Why did I pay a first plus or the 105 for 23 whatever? What's the cutoff? 20 quarterbacks is like you're paying basically the 105 for around there. They can't all be worth that. So kind of my point is if there is a strategy this year where you could potentially just hedge, get a Geno as your quarterback too, and then you're not really risking like I think it's a fact 6 quarterbacks turnover every single year on average each season. I mean if you do the math like
and by turnover you mean they lose their starting job.
They lose their job every year, 6 quarterbacks. So something's got to give. Obviously like the Bryce Youngs, the ARs, the Sam Darnolds, the Fields, like those are good candidates of it. Like just guys that are going in, whatever, are this normally the profiles. If you just don't risk losing like a first plus because the guy's not a difference maker, / he loses his job. There's kind of 2 ways where you can lose value with a quarterback. He could actually, like AR for example, he's really good in fantasy when on the field, but if he loses his job, he loses his value. Bryce Young he could keep his job, but people could just realize that if he doesn't be a fantasy difference maker, he loses value anyways, kind of thing, or just keeps it like, around a late first because he's just a quarterback. I don't know. You could just pay like a second for Geno Smith at 34. So I mean, you could pay for guys on the rise once you see that they're a difference maker next year. Is what I'm kind of saying too. For example, Baker Mayfield, you'd be like, oh man, yeah, he is a difference maker. I'll just buy him on the way up. Like I'm not paying that much more.
Yeah.
But I know that I'm getting him. Like I know that he's a difference maker. I'm not like drafting him 2 rounds ahead of some other quarterback because I think he's better or whatever. I don't know. It's kind of hard to explain.
Yeah. What kind of deal would that be? Like last season, Baker's heating up, and you're kind of seeing like, okay, this guy might be like, borderline league winner the way things are going.
Well, I'm thinking more into like this year because this year is a much different situation at quarterback. We just have so many of them. So you could like, let's just say you wait till like week 2, right? And all teams are gonna have quarterbacks. So it doesn't have to be Baker. It could be whatever quarterback. You're like, oh man, this guy is a difference maker. You just like buy them. You have the data now to say.
In season, like I mean, the manager that has them is probably doing well, and they want to keep doing well.
They could, but they could also like when you go tiering from quarterbacks, it's hard to tier down at quarterback. They could think of an opportunity of, oh man, I got 1 week out of Baker or whatever, 3 weeks. Like I'm gonna tier down to whatever. Or maybe you're tearing down from someone that's like Stroud last year, and you're going to Baker.
Right.
There's a lot of situations with quarterback, obviously team dependent. I think the point is like you really can't lose if you just go Geno or something like that. Like
Yeah.
he's probably just going to be the quarterback. Yeah, I don't know, 18 or better, something like that.
Right. Yeah.
But it's whoever gets hot with touchdowns, anyways, for
But if
pockets.
Geno's one of your QB, is it that much more important to have like a Josh Allen type as your QB1, or do you still not care that much if like
Oh sure.
your QB1 is just Jared Goff or someone like that? Or
Here's a good way to put it. I think it's way better to have Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, Lamar as one of those guys as your QB1,
yeah,
and then have Geno Smith as your QB2, than
Yeah.
rather having Owen Penix and McCarthy or Owen Young and Trevor Lawrence or something like that.
yeah. I think
Like-
you're probably right about that, and I think that's interesting.
Your
So,
QB1's going to destroy their QB1. Your QB2 is going to score the same amount of points as their QB2.
yeah,
Simple
But
as
I mean,
that.
obviously, like it's not easy, getting like Josh Allen or Lamar
No.
Jackson off of someone. I mean, I was just trying to trade for him in our Bums and Ballers league, and I sent an offer of Jared Goff, the 106, and my 26 first,
Yeah.
and just got declined. Like, just
Yeah.
got what was his name, Mr. Ghost, like wasn't even interested in even countering. And it's not like I just sent him that offer out of the blue. He had just put Josh Allen on the trade block.
Okay.
Yet, I mean, he's basically acting like that offer is just garbage. You know what I mean? I mean, he wasn't rude about it or anything. I'd have to see his exact message. I mean, it was polite and everything, but like, wasn't interested.
Yeah, I mean, it could be hard. I've seen them traded, though. I've seen Lamar
Yeah.
traded. I've seen Josh Allen traded multiple times.
Oh yeah,
last
I
year.
just got a Josh Allen share. In
Mhm.
fact, my first one, which I was pretty excited about.
Yeah.
I think you thought I overpaid for it a bit. I was pretty excited about it, but basically,
Oh, yeah, in the format.
I got Josh Allen, Keon Coleman, and I can't remember if I got. Oh, I think Marshawn Lloyd I got thrown in,
Mhm.
and I had to give up Jalen Hurts, Drake London, and I think I tossed in like some running back or whatever.
Yeah.
But in any case, the thing about this league though is that big play bonuses are huge; they're massive, and Drake London doesn't get a ton of those, so like he's not quite as impactful in that format. He's still really good. Don't get me wrong; I love Drake London, but that was part of the thinking. And then actually, I ended up getting Jalen Hurts back, so I got Josh Allen and Jalen Hurts on the same team. So
Yeah. I mean,
pretty excited about that.
you don't even have to worry about Geno Smith. I don't. By the way, I only. This is the funniest part about my argument here is like whatever my theory is. I own one Geno Smith. I now own one Derek Carr and like one Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
And if you look at all my quarterback rooms, they are like elite quarterback rooms. I have multiple Penix. I have a Darnold. I have an AR or no 2 AR. I have guys
So
like that.
Why are you practicing what you preach? What gives, Blake?
Yeah, because this is something I've really in the last like couple days just been thinking
I
about.
see. Okay.
And it's just like we're in peak Dynasty offseason. It's true. All these guys have good profiles. I think Penix and I think McCarthy and I think all these guys could go up in value, but the reality is half of them won't, and half of them we're gonna be extremely disappointed in, and Geno Smith's gonna be outscoring you mid-season or whoever the hell your quarterback 2 is. That's the Derek Carr type. But I think doing this break room draft really like opened my eyes to like it's okay. It's as long as you got one of those guys at QB2, it just really doesn't matter. I mean, we'll see in season, of course. I mean, hopefully these guys actually are a top 20 quarterback. As long as they're not the biggest disappointments ever, probably not going to be too disappointed with them.
Yeah. Also, we got a bunch of comments in the chat we got to catch up on. So Jacob says, I like the trade happening, LOL. We got Seb's one hostage, LOL. All right, interesting. So it sounds like, Jacob's betting against Seb a bit here. Seb says, that's okay, Jacob. When I win and you lose, we'll talk about it then. And then Cooper says, dun, dun, dun. Anyways, Jacob also says, my team definitely isn't winning this year, LOL. We are mid this year. And then Cooper says, Dan going on a Zach Ertz hunt. Actually, I don't own any Zach Ertz.
I got a couple.
I had the one share in Bums and Ballers from last year's startup, and then I traded him like right after to Andrew. Let's see. Seb says, let's see. Tyler C. I'm not sure what he's saying there. Sign with the Chargers, so I ain't mad at this
Conklin.
trade. Oh, Tyler Conklin. Yeah, of course. Oh, hey, my boy. Yeah. How can I forget
Uh,
about Conklin? Yeah. Yeah, I got him on at least a couple dynasty teams. So yeah, that was definitely a fun landing spot for him. And then let's see, Josh, he says tight end isn't a constant position, full stop. It takes a very elite tight end to take away targets from a wide receiver on a multi-year basis. Yeah, I think I'd agree with that. And then Jacob says, yeah, my thing with the trade is if you're an all-in team, why make your roster for sure worse to get a future one? I just don't see it. And Seb says, because I'm here to compete against you next year and beat you again, Jacob. Coming for you in Dakota. All
okay.
right. So yeah, we'll see.
So
Like, yeah, I mean, what do you think
one
about the trade from Sebastian's perspective? Like,
so
what do you think motivated him to make that move?
so yeah, I'll address like Jacob's thing, which is interesting because now I feel like because like I when I first look at it too, I think the same thing. It's like okay, yeah, he's making his team yeah for sure worse, and he's getting up one, but his team's like all in. But the thing is like I mean we really don't know if Laporta's. I mean, if you just think about like we really don't know anything about next season. Like sure, especially with tight ends, we just talked about how inconsistent they are. I don't know that it really makes his team any worse. It's likely to make it worse, but by how if a difference that matters, I'm not sure. Especially if Debo just like actually has a season. Again, I'm not saying it's gonna happen. They could both suck though. And now he's got a first and a 206 to play with.
Yeah.
So like the thing
I
is
mean,
like
it's a
with
good tight end class. So like he could get a. He's probably thinking he could probably get like a pretty decent like
he doesn't even need one.
upside playing at a rookie tight end at the 206, and he banks the first, and he probably figures can Debo at least for one
Yeah.
year, match Laporta's production.
Yeah, Debo could get close. Like I don't think like that would be. I'd be shocked if he
Not
was
crazy.
close, or
That's not
even
crazy.
somehow it scored him again. Injuries, all that
Sure,
stuff.
it's
He has
possible.
Kittle though, so he doesn't even need a tight end. So he can do whatever he wants with those picks. Whether he moves that in the next year, he actually has ammo now at least to make his team better. Again, when he has
Yeah.
information in season, which I think is
Mhm.
interesting. And kind of the video we just made, it's like picks are just currency. I don't. He doesn't need to make the pick. Like everyone knows like he can just get a player he actually likes in season. So I
Yeah.
don't think it really makes his team necessarily much worse.
Yeah, I tend
Um,
to agree. I mean, unless like Mims breaks out, I think that's kind of
yeah,
like the wild card in the deal.
like Mims
Like if
shouldn't have been in the deal, in my opinion.
Mims shouldn't have been. Okay,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, I think I tend to agree. Yeah, maybe Seb just isn't real high on Mims. I mean, he did draft him. I'm assuming it wasn't like an auto pick, but yeah, I probably just should have given the 302 for Mims. I think that was a fair and
yeah.
solid deal, especially since like I'm kind of higher on him. So yeah, looking back, I'm not sure why I didn't do that, but yeah, that is kind of the X factor. But yeah, I think yeah, it probably would have been. It would definitely would have been nicer if he didn't have to throw Mims in there because he does at least have the upside. But assuming Mims doesn't break out and he just kind of remains like a part-time player with like random spike weeks that you never know when to start him, I can see why Seb would make this trade.
Yeah.
Just like we laid out, like Debo could match Laporta's production. You get like a fun young shot at tight end of the 206. You bank that first, so like yeah, I don't think it's a bad trade for Seb. I can definitely see why he did it.
He gains an asset at least because he needs that. He doesn't have much on the bench. Again, like maybe Tyler Conklin, maybe Zach Moss is just like a guy, but again, he
Yeah.
got Dobbs in the lineup, so it feels like he can address the starting lineup whether he trades it into a different vet, something like that.
Yeah, and
Um,
the 26 first is just the ultimate like in-season buying power. Like
yeah,
that can be so powerful to have that on your roster. So let's say Seb's team starts the season like pretty good, maybe
mhm.
better than expected, and he realizes like, oh, I'm a competitor this year. Well, now he can move that 26 first and like just think of the fun, productive in-season players he could buy at that point,
Yeah.
especially once teams start getting eliminated and they're looking to move some of their veterans.
And
Like,
maybe it's Tayton that is the one that's just gets an unlucky break. I think his team's actually interesting. We should look at that
yeah,
because his team is stars and scrubs. Maybe not
yeah,
even from a dynasty perspective, but from a scoring perspective.
right,
It's Holochain, Jefferson, Chase, and now I guess Laporta. Um, if you want to count him as a stud, and then you go down to again, I don't believe Young's a difference maker. I think Tua is a good like cheaper
yeah.
guy that can be a difference maker, especially on certain weeks. Diggs, Pitts, Cup, Brown. I mean, those are not names to think that could be whatever. Like,
Yeah, and that's Hollywood. That's Hollywood Brown, not Chase Brown. For
yeah,
our
that's
listeners.
Hollywood Brown. I mean, this guy just has a 203 and a second next year. I mean, he really doesn't have anything on the bench other than obviously Laporta's going to slot in. Charbonnet's a good handcuff. Dowdle's a half decent handcuff. I mean, there's really not like I mean, this team if it gets an injury or two could easily be a bottom six team. Although, if it stays healthy and these guys are playing, I mean, again, this is a pretty polarizing team, like the way it's built.
I like it though. I mean, like when we were
Really
breaking
four
down the
studs.
startup, like this was probably one of my favorite teams.
Yeah, it has four studs. I just didn't like the way I guess that the draft was ended. I love the way it was started. It just wasn't my style of the way that it ended up being finished. Especially like the Pitts one is like I want to vomit looking at him.
Yeah. So I mean, what do you think of this deal from Colossal's perspective? Do you understand why he did it? Would you have done it?
Honestly, in Titans' perspective, I don't think I'm doing this deal. Like I think that's
Yeah.
the fairest way I can put about this deal. I don't think it's like a fleece at all.
Yeah.
Because honestly, again, I wouldn't touch Pitts personally. Just I would have went a different way at tight end, even if especially if you're not going early, and then just rock with that. Just embrace it. Get some guys later, and like if you're gonna buy Laporta, I mean, again, you might have to pay a little bit more, but just like do it in season if possible, kind of thing. Like, I want to see it.
Maybe he starts slow, and you can really get him at even more of a discount at that point. You know what I think though? Like I think this could be a good move for Colossal long term because I do believe in Laporta, and you could look back at this in like couple years, 3 years, whatever. I mean, hopefully the league lasts for a while, but you can look back and be like, man, like you stole a young Laporta for a first and a second basically.
Yeah, that's I don't think he's a guaranteed. I don't think anyone's a guaranteed playoff team. I don't even believe in that. But I don't, especially with his team. Like I don't think he's guaranteed to not be like a 101 candidate. And I just say that because he doesn't have depth. And if you don't have depth, you're automatically 101 candidate. It doesn't matter how good your team is out of a startup. I'll say.
Yeah.
So I think it could I think the upside, while Laporta can still gain value, like you're saying, and you could steal it. I think there's a much more likely chance that it's like the 101 than it's Laporta gets the 3 first again kind of thing.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Because he spent a 1.5 first on him, so split. I think it's if anything the value could lean to the first side.
Yeah, but I mean, but if injuries happen, because with the stars and scrub build, so that is an interesting scenario to consider.
Injuries are going to happen. I don't know that Laporta breaks out. Like there's a lot of variables on the team part. Like people on his team will get hurt. Buys will happen. The sub the bet that he's making on tight end is for one. It's one variable. It's just one player, which I think is something to consider.
Mm-hmm.
You get what I'm saying? Like.
Yeah, I mean, I don't hate the deal for either side. I could definitely make a case for why each manager would have done the deal. I do think it could be interesting for Colossal long term. You might look back and it could age well. But I definitely don't mind it for Seb. So I think that was.
I think it's a fair deal.
Yeah, I think it was pretty fair.
Yeah, I think it's fair. Even I'm saying I don't think I'm doing that as Colossal. Like at least he got Mims back.
Yeah.
I just.
Well, I mean, Mims is the real sneaky piece in that. Like, if he ends up breaking out, this deal has a whole different, look to it for sure.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, we got to keep our eye on Colossal's team because, I said, I could see that being an early first, and I could see him dominating the league if obviously his top 4 studs stay healthy there. I mean, that is lethal.
Yeah, and we got a bunch of comments from Cooper. He says, watching the war chart on quarterbacks, the 15th is the same as the 28th quarterback, basically. Last Dynasty startups, if you didn't have 2 quarterbacks after round 3, it was a bit rare. It seems to be a fade now. Yeah, it does seem like I was kind of surprised doing the startup in the break room.
The 3 QB build?
Well, no, just how much quarterbacks were falling, I feel like.
Yeah, no one wants a third quarterback because there's so many of them. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I feel like in the past, there was more panic about I need to get my quarterbacks and everything. Yeah. But now people are just kind of comfortable and you can get them later. So it does definitely allow you to lean into that strategy of I'll just take Geno or, Derek Carr or whatever as my QB2 or QB3 or whatever. So
which is why I think this year I never thought this other year. I think this is the year that you can get away with that, and it might not be that way next year. Is all.
Right. And then Cooper also says, I'd pay 106 for Penix pretty easily, and I'm not that high on Penix overall.
Yeah.
He also says, oh God, Lloyd involved in a trade. Shivers. It's
Uh-oh.
now doomed. Oh, that's right, because Cooper mentioned he had some bad luck with Marshawn Lloyd. Oh gosh, don't say that. Like that, now you're making me nervous with that deal.
Uh-oh.
So hopefully Cooper's bad juju with Marshawn Lloyd hasn't rubbed off on my Josh Allen deal there.
Yeah.
And then Cooper also says, love the Jefferson Chase combo, but I'd probably try to down tier to like a Neighbors and get a little more depth if I'm Colossal.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's interesting because there's like no such thing as a down tier to Neighbors at this point in time. And we took Neighbors one pick over Lamb because you can't see him. He's in a taxi right now for roster space. But we took him at pick 10. And I mean, sure, yeah, we could pay a little bit to get from one to the other. Like, I would do that just because, like, if it was a tiny price, but, like, we're not talking anywhere near first because they're just the same price right now, even if that's not even ended up being true next year. That's a hard tear down to get. I wonder if that's, like, if someone is... I think from Chase to Neighbors, you could get something, but from Jefferson to Neighbors, it might be difficult, right?
Because, yeah, that's interesting. I mean, like, I don't feel like that's a trade you see happen very often. No. Like, yeah, I've never really thought about it. I mean, they're both, they're all just such elite assets. If you're talking about Chase, Jefferson, and Neighbors, so like, yeah, I really doubt many trades like that get done because, like, you're probably just keeping the one you have. Like, yeah.
What would the down tier be? You think, Cooper, if he went to us with Neighbors? Like, what do you think he'd be looking for to move off?
Chase.
Let's say Jefferson, just because Chase is the one that had the hot year. I want to know for Jefferson, who was the wide receiver 2, but isn't coming off the last.
I feel like asking for a second would be like reasonable. Now I don't know if you'd want to pay that, but like I feel like that'd be pretty reasonable.
I think it'd be reasonable because it's Jefferson.
Yeah.
But again, like it's also like the hype of Neighbors. It's like, yeah, he could be. Or technically above him, but he could just stay right beside him.
Yeah, well, what I'd like to know is, like, what would you do if you were the Jefferson owner and someone offered you Neighbors in a second? Are you accepting that?
I'm trying to think on my Jefferson teams.
Let's call it the 206 this year. That's in your...
Yeah.
206 and Neighbors. You have Jefferson. Let's say you're a pretty strong contender.
You know what? I probably actually do it. And the reason I would do it is that, like, they got a quarterback now. There is some projection, absolutely, with Neighbors. But again, I mean, not really. He was literally the wide receiver 1, I'm pretty sure, overall, before getting the concussion and then losing, like, getting thrown to by Tim Boyle. So I don't think actually there probably really is much projection. But what I'll say is, if you get the 206, I mean, what we're talking about with the rookie tiers, that's not too far from, like, the back of that first round slip. It spills out into the early second.
Yeah, maybe you can even like trade up that pick.
You could trade up. You can trade around. You can actually probably get a difference maker from the 206. So if I'm not like certain that there's that much of a difference between Neighbors and Jefferson, and the reality is there probably actually is because it's just freaking Justin Jefferson. It's more dependent on Neighbors, I guess, just like what he does rather than Jefferson. I feel like you can still get something difference making with the 206 though. Like upgrade something else on your team.
I think I would take the Neighbors and 206 side because, like, you could be getting the next Jefferson a few years younger, and you get the 206 on top of it. So, like, you never feel good trading away, like, I mean, Justin Jefferson is, like, one of the surest things in fantasy football, and he's still, like, semi-young. Like, he's not even, like, that old yet.
Yeah.
So, like, I'm not, like, dying to move off Jefferson for, like, something that's riskier. But, like, I think that'd probably be too tempting for me to pass up. Get younger and get the pick.
Yeah, like, you get something as if Neighbors isn't going to be worse, when technically he's younger, could be better. We've seen he was doing better than Jefferson last year.
I mean, imagine this. Like, here's an interesting thing to think about, and this really isn't that far-fetched.
Yeah.
1 year from today, what if Neighbors is worth more than Jefferson in Dynasty?
Well, yeah, that would be the appeal of doing it, is that's a really... true, like, I could be outcome. It could be because of injury.
What odds would you put on that? I mean, is that like 50-50 to you? Would you favor one over the other? Like, what odds would you put on that? I would say, like, I might. I think you could make the argument that that's almost more likely to happen than not. Like just knowing how Dynasty works, unless Neighbors just really has the sophomore slump and is just like a dud and bad quarterback play, whatever. But like I could definitely see that happening because like I mean at some point, I mean what is Jefferson now? 25.
25. He would still be 25 in the offseason next year, I think, but then it turns to 26 somewhere in there. Like because it's important what it says. Are you 25? Are you 26? That's a big difference.
Well, wait, if he's 25 now, a year from today, he's 26. Obviously.
Well, he might have turned 25 this offseason is all. I think he did turn 25 this offseason.
Well, regardless, in 365 days, Jefferson's going to be 26.
Okay. Yeah. If you're saying that, yeah. I mean, if it says he's 26, yeah, sure, the age thing definitely plays a factor because that Neighbors would be, 23?
Yeah.
So,
I mean, what do Neighbors have to do? Like, let's assume
need to outscore.
Jefferson just does his usual, like, top 3 to 5, whatever. Like,
Neighbors is to outscore him or, be right beside him to pass him. Because if he's not within the range of Jefferson in redraft, no one's going to take him ahead of him. You know what I mean? Like, they shouldn't take him ahead of him. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but if they score about the same points per game this season, Neighbors is probably worth more a year from now.
Yeah, that would be true because of the age. Yeah. Yeah, actually, Neighbors will still say 2022 next year because he's 21.7.
Yeah.
I'm just interested on the ages. So Jefferson's 25.8.
It is crazy that Jefferson still as young as he is. Like, I mean, it seems like he should be older than 25, doesn't it? Like, I guess he just came into the league kind of young, but yeah, it's crazy that he's still only 25. It seems like he's been in the NFL for a while.
Yeah, I mean he has. He's played losing track now. 5 seasons.
I believe 5 seasons.
Yeah, 5 seasons. So he came in young. I'd say it's. I don't know if I had to put a real percentage. I'd say it's. I don't know, 33% or something like that.
Okay.
All right. It's hard to outscore Jefferson. I mean, my God.
Yeah.
But injuries happen
or even
and stuff like
him.
that.
I mean, it's hard. It's hard to match him. Yeah. So
it's hard to match exactly, and injuries could happen though, and I think that's why I'll put it as high as 33%. But again, that's why I'm picking Neighbors right after him. Wouldn't be surprised though if it happened at the same time.
And then Cooper says, I don't believe there's a difference between Chase and Neighbors, but I'd try. I'd try it because I'm a degenerate. I love it.
Yeah. I was like, Chase is even a year younger than Neighbors, so it closes the gap. And he is off the hype season, but come on, with Burrow, I mean that's the one fun thing about Chase. There might not be as much of a difference, I agree, but Chase is even as a Vikings fans, I'll put Chase as literally the wide receiver one, not even biased. It's just we needed to see that he could have that season again from his rookie year because of the injuries. Now that he's done it, he could be crowned the wide receiver one. He's younger than Jefferson. He's attached to Burrow.
Yeah, and then he let's see. Cooper also adds an early second or McLaurin type would be my target in that deep league. Yeah, I don't know if you could get McLaurin, but maybe an early second. I mean, you could try for it. And then he says, being in the position he is, I'd consider that. I'd consider down-tiering Neighbors to a Nico for the same reason, lack of depth, and one league myself right now.
Yeah, that's much more realistic. I think it's smart. And hey, guess who owns Nico in this league? Also us, so he can come talk to us. You can go tell him to do that. But yeah, here's the thing: we're definitely or just anyone, or I own Neighbors in 2 leagues. I wouldn't expect to get the 201 I wouldn't send the 201, and then I also own Chase and Jefferson and at least I would not even expect to get anything close to the 201, whatever, early second. Because again, honestly, what's the difference between all of them? They're all just in the same tier. And one's younger, one's projected to score more points. It's pretty tough.
Then Cooper says 23-year-old Neighbors versus 27-year-old Jefferson will be when the switch happens, I believe. And I couldn't be higher on Jefferson. Haha. Yeah, so fair. Cooper thinks, it's still a couple years away before Neighbors surpasses him. But, I mean, all it takes is one big season from Neighbors, and he's above Jefferson. Not saying dramatically or whatever, but But yeah, you could argue how likely is that to happen. It'll be interesting to see. That would be interesting if that switch happened a year from now.
I can see it happening from a year from now. Yeah, a year from next season, for sure. I can see it after his age 23 season.
Meaning 2 years from today, you're saying?
Yeah, after the 26 season. I would be kind of surprised if it wasn't, just knowing the Dynasty market. As long as Neighbors isn't.
Yeah, I would bet on that. 2 years from today, I'm sure Neighbors is worth more Dynasty, unless he's just something unexpected happened where he's just really disappointed or suffered a major injury.
yeah, I think JJ, yeah, can hold on this year, but yeah, exactly. The next one,
Yeah.
much more likely.
Also, we should probably wrap it up pretty
Yeah,
soon, but I did notice we got a trade offer in
I
Walter White's lap. Of course, that's the
completely
league where
forgot
we
about that.
get the team together, and it was a trade offer from Joshy. So I don't know if Joshy is still in the chat here.
Yeah, I completely forgot about that because I did see it.
Oh, okay. So
So
yeah, Joshy is offering us Isaac Guerrero and Kenny
Kenny,
McIntyre.
oh baby,
He's trying to
you're
tug at our.
sold.
He's trying to
Do,
tug at my heartstrings here.
do I
That's
hit
not
accept?
Joshy. And
Yeah,
we would have to send him Jordan Mason and Isaiah Davis. What are your initial thoughts
yeah.
on this play?
Initial thoughts is I can see this. This is pretty much a fair deal, but no Minnesota bias. I feel like I can understand maybe more than someone else would though, of just like the league winning potential on Mason. Of course, Garendo, the same thing for injury. But again, this is more likely to be a deal that would be like I would consider after the draft because I think they're bringing
Oh
someone
yeah,
in. I don't know when it is. They're gonna bring someone in.
because yeah,
Um,
Garendo has risk because well, first of all, he might not even have a role if CMC is healthy, which reports
yeah,
are
exactly.
saying sounding pretty healthy right now. For what that's worth, I mean, of course CMC could get hurt. I'm not saying he
And then
won't.
when he does, he might not even be the backup because the draft. He's always survived
Exactly.
that.
Whereas like Jordan Mason seems like a slam dunk. Like he's
Yeah,
gonna have a role like instantly. It sounds like, and on top of it, the only running back ahead of him is old Aaron Jones. He could easily get injured, and so like you could have Jordan Mason as like a workhorse, running back on a great offense. I mean, he could have easily have like a Chuba Hubbard kind of season, like what Chuba
that's a
was last year.
that's a good comp of like what he
Yeah,
could do. Yeah, actually.
yeah, I could, yeah, totally see him
Wow.
like a Chuba Hubbard type of season.
Yeah.
And in that case, like Josh is just winning this trade by a landslide. So yeah, I would definitely not accept this. It would have to be a decline or counter. Like I don't know if you
Yeah.
could think.
I wouldn't. Yeah. This is one where just like really nothing even would make sense for us to counter because what are we like? I want to see
Yeah,
the draft
Jordan
happen
Mason's just
first.
such a sure thing. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, definitely give Joshy credit for trying to get Jordan Mason.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe you heard us talking about him
It's in the video.
in the blind comps video. Yeah, so I hope everyone's checked that out. Like, we're pretty proud of it. I think talked a little bit about that earlier in the stream. But yeah, you guys got to let us know what you think of the thumbnail. Yeah, we definitely had some fun with that. So definitely check that out, especially if you haven't seen the new thumbnail because we ended up changing it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if Guerrero keeps the job, though, this is something to consider. Again, though, the one thing with Mason that I love is that he's actually already. It's funny. I mean, obviously, I was already saying to you, Dan, the second he kind of got there, he's going to be the 1B immediately. Like,
Right.
you'll be touching the ball and getting important touches. Now, all of a sudden, Kevin O'Connell, because they had that coaches meeting, is on tape. He's saying, definitely going to get the 1B. Aaron Jones is not going to be seeing the touches he was last year. They need to keep him healthy, whether he will stay healthy or not. And that Mason, he said Mason's ability, again, I think this is just kind of like coach stuff. Like, I'm not reading it too much in anything in the offseason as far as like going this far, but he was saying he loved his ability for being like a goal line back, short down yardage, stuff like that, getting like the tough yards. So
Yeah, I saw that.
maybe some goal line potential, stuff like that. I'm not weighing too much into that, but I think,
Yeah, but I mean, Jordan Mason just seems like such
yeah,
a more of a sure thing this season than Garendo. And I love Garendo. Like
yeah,
I recently have I drafted him in the startup and break room, and then I've also have made 2 trades for him just in the past like few weeks here. So I love Garendo. I love his upside, but I mean Jordan Mason just kind of feels like a slam dunk at this point, at least as much as you can as an NFL team's RB2. But
yeah.
it might not stay. He might not stay as the RB2 for very long.
Yeah, it's possible. It could just be this year. If it is this year, though, like that's, I mean, we can't really project much out. If he's good though this year, I'm sure he'll be the RB2 next year at worst. Because Aaron Jones could be gone, and then okay, well he's either going to be the starter or
He
they
could.
bring someone else in.
Yeah, he could even be the lead back in 26. Like, who knows? Or at least, like, the 1A or at worst, probably the 1B. So,
That might
yeah,
be the stickiest part about him. Actually, I wasn't really factoring in. I'm kind of just thinking on the 1 year window, but he realistically, with Aaron Jones being the other guy, yeah, he really could be the lead back next year.
Yeah, because, like, what if, like, going into 26, like, the Vikings take a running back in, like, round 3 or 4, something like that, and to, have some depth, compete with Jordan Mason, push him a bit. But like Jordan Mason could still be like the dude, like starting the season in 26, and maybe he keeps it. Maybe he's too good. Maybe the rookie is struggling with pass protection, or this or that. Like, so yeah, I mean, Jordan Mason definitely could have value beyond the season.
Yeah, and like I don't know. I mean, Guerrero, and not to shoot too much on Guerrero, but it just feels like he doesn't feel like starting back to me. He feels like the handcuff guy. Can you
Yeah.
agree with that? I know you're the Guerrero guy.
I mean, I could definitely see him like evolving into like a starting running back in the future. I'm not saying like, oh, I absolutely think that's like guaranteed that's going to happen
Do you think the
someday.
Niners would let that happen though, with the way that they run their backfields? Where like the Vikings don't really invest heavily ever in running
I mean,
backs.
I wouldn't rule it out. I mean, it does seem like the Niners kind of like to feature one guy, I guess, at least when that player's good enough. And I think Guerrero is already a guy that has like kind of surpassed expectations relative to like where he was drafted and his like college profile. So like I wouldn't put anything past him. Like I could see him being a starting running back someday. So I definitely think he's a very intriguing player, and I'm definitely excited about having 3 shares of him. I really wish I had more than just this 1 share of Jordan Mason, because like I've been trying to get more, and managers don't want to give him up.
Same. I think I lucked into just having those 5 still from rocking them out last season, and I can't get any more. Like it doesn't. I mean, I know it's enough, but like I want more. It's like not even a Vikings thing. It's just like he's just like one of those. I don't even know if there's really another like 1B kind of guy like that is in that price range that it feels like he could easily be the league winner. But and then hey, come on, Isaiah Davis over Kenny McIntosh. Come on, Isaiah Davis is going to take Brees's job, man. According to Aaron Glenn.
Right, according to what the
and we own Brees though, so I mean, hey, even more reason to hold him for whatever you put in there. But anyways, I think it's fair. I think it's a fair deal. I'm not touching this before the draft. I'm not doing.
I mean, it's a fair deal on market value. I don't know if it's a fair deal in actuality.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah,
and it could be post draft, but I think with this team though, just looking at it right now, we want a flex guy.
Yeah, exactly. So it wouldn't make sense for us in our build right now.
Yeah, and then the other fact is that they both are league winners if the starter gets hurt, anyways. So
yeah.
So anyways, I don't know if I ever said this to you. Try to remember, but that was when I remember when you were trading for Guerrero, kind of after the trade, and I feel like I said this, but maybe I didn't. But like my take was, like, Mason's the guy you should be trying to get more so. Like he should be the more valuable one because he's the one getting touches. Like I feel like I said that to you.
Oh, we definitely talked about Jordan Mason, and like you really sold me on him. And so like, and once you sold me on him, like I was like sending offers for him like in every league. So I just haven't been able to get any. I did get one counter, but I'd have to pull it up. I could pull it up on my phone real quick, but like it was like basically I'd really have to like overpay for him, and here's what it is now. I'll look it up real quick, but yeah, I just got the one counter and it was not cheap.
Okay, yeah.
I think like 2 picks in this draft. It was. Let's see what it is. It was in my. Was it in the point per carry league? Let's see. I think it may have been. So maybe that. Sure, that was part of the reason for the price. But still, this is a loaded running back class. So if I'm giving up like 2 picks in this class, like that could be 2 pretty good running backs.
Yeah. Let's see. And Hawkeye says Jones will see some injuries. He always does, which is true. He was playing all the games yet last year, but he was hurt throughout them. Dealing with hip injuries and old man stuff. But that's a savvy offer by Joshy there. Especially getting McIntosh in there.
Yeah, really pulling out all the stops there.
Yeah. The thing he didn't know though is that you're the Isaiah Davis cult leader.
The Isaiah Davis. Yeah, I like him. I mean, I'm not like goo goo gaga. I mean, like he is kind of buried there on the depth chart. But he's interesting. I mean, who knows? Like if Brees gets traded, it becomes a little more interesting. But of course, then do they draft another running back? Who knows? I mean, I think I think you'd be pretty good if you had Braylon Allen and Isaiah Davis as like your 1-2 punch. Like I don't think they would like need to draft another running back, but with this loaded class, like they probably would if they ended up moving Brees before the draft is over.
I hope they do that. I hope they split them up, split that backfield up.
I heard one bold prediction that was kind of interesting. It was saying that like, the Jets are going to draft Ashton Genty and then trade Brees to the Commanders. That'd be pretty cool.
Okay.
Yeah. Wouldn't that be fun?
Yeah, I'd just get Brees anywhere but the Jets. That'd be awesome.
Yeah. Oh, by the way,
Give him the
I heard
Bears.
the thing. It was also like another bold prediction about like the Seahawks like trading one of their running backs, specifically trading Zach Charbonnet to the Raiders.
Okay.
Because think about it,
Pete
who
Carroll.
drafted Zach Charbonnet? Pete Carroll, right?
Yep.
When he's coached the Seahawks. And what coach did Zach Charbonnet play with in college?
Was it Chip Kelly?
It was Chip Kelly.
Okay. Interesting.
Now the offensive coordinator there. So like that sounds like something that could happen. Like I mean I wouldn't, doesn't sound crazy to me at all, for sure.
Yeah, it's probably unlikely, but it also makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. So that would be fun. Then I found the trade offers with Jordan Mason. Okay. So this isn't the point per carry league. So you get 0.25 point per carry. So it definitely makes running backs valuable. But I'd also argue it makes 25 picks more valuable. Is that a fair statement? So anyways, I sent the offer of basically I offered the 304 and 401. And I asked for Jordan Mason and like a 4th and 26. So I was offering 2 picks, including a 304 and an early 4th. So you could basically call that like 2/3 in a loaded running back class. And let's see. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. I skipped ahead. My original offer... All right, sorry, I'm getting myself confused here. Okay, initially I just offered the 307 for Jordan Mason, okay? He countered, he wanted the 304 and the 307. So that was the counter I was talking about. That was kind of expensive. So, I mean, I don't know. It doesn't sound like too horrible, but like in this running class.
Yeah. It's easy to say, I do that, but then here's the thing. Aren't the running backs going to get pushed up in the draft anyway? So the guys that you would normally get at the 304, they're going to go like late second. So like technically, like then you're having to draft receivers and tight ends maybe, or first running backs. Like I would have probably done that now that I'm thinking about that.
Yeah, I'm kind of questioning it a little bit now too. Like somehow at the time it seemed worse. Probably part of it is just like that was 13 days ago. I mean, it seems like every day, like you and I have just gotten higher and higher on Jordan Mason. So like, I think at the time I sent this, I was just sort of starting to believe, and it just kind of felt like, it's a little steep. Yeah. Especially in this league where like I took over the orphan, and the team definitely doesn't have a ton of value on it. So I feel like that's kind of a tier up, in a way, like turning like 2 picks into 1 player.
You know what though? But it could be one of those situations where it's like, yeah, you are giving 2 for 1, but like it probably much more likely that Jordan Mason is the one gaining value and not the 2 random rookies that you get there. And potentially a lot of value.
I'm kind of feeling some regret over this now. Like
I remember you mentioning that, and I wish I could remember exactly what I said, but I feel like I was saying, yeah, that's like a pretty good price. You're not paying a second for him, basically. But if I had a hesitation, it probably was because of the format. But when I think about the format, you're definitely not going to get the 304 that is there. Even though
I bet with the reports on Mason now, I bet I couldn't even like get this now if I offered it to him.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I know you've been higher Mason. Like I kind of just, I mean, I'm more excited about Mason, but I paid the same amount for him. If that makes sense. Like I think he's worth a minimum a late second. Since going there, but
what do you think? Just for fun, should I send that offer again and see if I can get him to do it?
Yeah, maybe add some fab or something to cover it up on the other side, like a couple fab.
Yeah, make it sound like, if you have some fab, I'll give you what you wanted, right? Yeah, for sure. Yeah, because if you don't add a little something on the side that what am I trying to say? You gotta make it look like you need like a little more,
Yeah, exactly. Okay, I'll do it if you do this.
Fine. Throw on some fab, and I'll give it to you. So yeah. Otherwise, you're just coming from like a position of weakness.
Yeah, you're like, oh man, I messed up. I'm trying to get that deal back. Yeah.
You're coming back, hat in hand, and basically like begging to is that offer still on the table? So you never want to come into a trade negotiation from a position of weakness like that.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess we should probably wrap up then, or otherwise we'll keep going.
But yeah, thank you everyone for joining us. So yeah, great seeing you, all you guys in the chat as always. We still got 5 watching right now, which is awesome. So thank you for staying up late with us and talking some Dynasty. Hope you guys are enjoying Dynasty and Beers here. We're gonna keep it going, and please check out our blind comps video. It is called "What is a Fantasy Doppelganger?" So if you don't know what a fantasy doppelganger is, you got to check out our video. So yeah, the thumbnail is fire. You gotta check that out as well. Let us know what you think of it. Yeah, we were even thinking of like we might do some fun things in the future of like where like on a live stream you guys can like help us like design like the next thumbnail for like. So yeah, if we did it on like on Dynasty and Beers, Wednesday evening, you could like help us like design the thumbnail for like the following Wednesday's Dynasty and Beers. So yeah, let us know if you'd be into that. We were just using like an AI program. So yeah, that was pretty fun. But yeah, check out the video. Thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you on Sunday's stream.